Hey everybody, welcome back. Where today we're not talking about any specific regulation. In fact, we're kind of talking about VGC that's not going to happen for like another year. But today I'm deep in my basement, finally crafting my my tinfoil hat. We're putting them on, you know. Today I just want to talk about a little weird like kind of theory that I have, and I don't have a whole lot of evidence to back this up, but I've done a little bit of research, and I think maybe I'm onto something. So you know, we'll see today. Do you agree? Do you disagree? We'll find out. Basically, I kind of think that Legends Z-A has regular battles. And by that I mean that they don't have the same kind of like weird battles that Legends Arceus had with, you know, the strong style, agile style, and like the turns weren't really turns. It was like 3 or 4 turns. I personally was not a big fan of that system. I found it very confusing, mostly because it would tell you, okay, yeah, if you do this, you'll go, you know, this many times in a row. And then it would never happen that way, and that really just pissed me off. So, forgive me, but I don't like the Legends Arceus battle system, specifically because it made it a lot more difficult than it needed to be to understand when I was going to move next, because it was very often wrong what it was telling me was going to happen. But I kind of think that Legends Z-A has regular battles. And why do I think this? Well, first of all, I mean, obviously we know Mega Evolutions are coming back, right? And I feel like there's a very low probability that they give us Mega Evolutions and they don't let them use them in like competitive Pokemon at all. And obviously they're not going to just bring Mega Evolutions into Scarlet and Violet. That would be very silly. That game is 3 years old at this point. So that kind of leaves us with like 2 or 3 options, right? Either Pokemon Legends Arceus or Pokemon Legends Z-A comes out and it has regular battles, and that's the game that we're playing VGC on for like a year or 2, right? Which is an option. Or Gen 10 comes out next year at the end of the year in November, and I feel like if Gen 10 was coming out next year, we would know about it. I feel like they're not going to release Gen 10 next year. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. But I feel like if Legends Z-A was going to come out in the beginning of the year, we would know more about it. There would be more than just the one announcement trailer. So I'm kind of thinking Legends Z-A comes out at the end of the year. Gen 10 doesn't come out until 2026 at the very end of the year. So where does that leave us? That means that we're going to play an entire another year on Scarlet and Violet? I feel like that's not very likely. I mean, obviously, anything can happen. We're kind of in uncharted waters at this point. But every generation essentially has like 3 years of VGC. And this goes all the way back to the beginning of VGC, Black and White. Black and White and Black and White 2 together consisted of 3 years of competitive Pokemon. And then X and Y comes out. X and Y together with Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire consists of 3 years of VGC. And then Sun and Moon come out. And then Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon together consist of 3 years of VGC. Same thing with Sword and Shield. Obviously, the first 2 of those years didn't really happen because of the pandemic. But we got our one Worlds, and, you know, if you count the 2 years that we didn't get, that's 3 years. Now, this is the 3rd year of Scarlet and Violet. This year right now, VGC 2025. Obviously, I know it's still 2024, but the 2025 season has started. And that means that this is supposed to be the last year of Scarlet and Violet. Every single generation so far has consisted of 3 years of VGC. And that's been, you know, like 2 years on the main game, 1 year on like a side game. This is the 3rd year of Scarlet and Violet. We had, right now we have 2025, we had 2024, and we had 2023. Those were our 3 years of Scarlet and Violet, and usually that's it. Usually you get 3 years in your generation, and then we're on to the next generation. But we don't know about Gen 10. I feel, like I said, maybe they're condensing the hype cycle. Maybe they're going to announce Gen 10 on like Pokemon Day. And we're going to have like 6 solid months of hype cycle, and that's it. It could happen. That's kind of what Scarlet and Violet's hype cycle was like, right? But are they really going to release Z-A in like the beginning of the year when we literally just have the announcement trailer and that's it? And then release Gen 10 at the end of the year? They could, right? They totally could. They totally could. But I'm not convinced. I think, and obviously, you know, if I sound crazy, tell me in the comments. But I think that Legends Z-A is going to have regular battles. I don't think it's going to have any kind of weird gimmicks in the battles besides Mega Evolution. And it's going to obviously give us new Mega Evolutions, because why would they tease Mega Evolution if they weren't going to give us new ones? Everybody would be so mad. Would it be the first time we're all mad at Game Freak? No, obviously not. But everybody would be so mad if they teased Mega Evolution and then they didn't give us Mega Evolutions. So we're going to get Z-A. It's going to have regular Pokemon battles, right? And then we'll be able to use Megas in competitive Pokemon. And maybe Gen 10 will also have the ability for us to use Megas, you know, down the line. Maybe not in the first year, but like the second year. Kind of like how Sun and Moon handled it. And we're just going to play VGC on Z-A. What does that mean? I don't know. Maybe that's bad. Maybe Z-A is like got such a small Pokemon roster that it would be bad. But I feel like Legends Arceus had a pretty decently sized Pokemon roster. You could still like structure a whole year around it. You could do like no Megas, and then you could do like all the Megas, and then you can do like all the Megas and all the Legendaries. I feel like you could do it. I feel like you could make a whole year out of just this one game, and we could play VGC on Z-A for 1 year, maybe 2 if they're crazy, right? It'd probably be like 1.5 if, well, I guess if Gen 10 comes out in 2026, it would be at the end of the year. Yeah, that makes sense. If Gen, my gut feeling is that Gen 10 is coming out in 2026 and not 2025. Or it's coming out like, it's gonna come out in November. There's no way it's, what was the last game that didn't come out in November? Was X and Y? X and Y came out in like the middle of the year, right? I guess, no it didn't. X and Y came out, X and Y was announced in the summer. It didn't come out until November. They're not gonna not release the Pokemon game in November. That sounds that sounds even crazier than what I'm saying. And what I'm saying sounds crazy, which is why, you know, I'm here with my tinfoil hat on. Gen 10, 2026, November. We play from August. We play from September through, man, I guess through from September 2025 all the way through. Well, I guess it depends on when Z-A comes out. Because if Z-A is coming out in November, which I feel like it might, right? From September to like January, we would still play Scarlet and Violet, which is normal. That's you know, relatively normal. Like you give the new generation a little bit of time to breathe before you move competitive Pokemon to it, you know. Scarlet and Violet was out already, I think, when Worlds 2022 happened? Question mark? Or it came out like right after and we were still playing Sword and Shield for a little bit. Actually, I don't think they had any events, so that's different. Usually you play events in the last gen, but I don't think we had any events between Worlds 2022 and Scarlet and Violet starting. But yeah, I don't know. I think timeline, the whole timeline, okay? We get through Worlds 2025, Scarlet and Violet, right? We have Reg H right now, Reg G again, Reg G Part 2, which is single restricted, and then after Reg G Part 2 is over, after like 3 months or whatever it's gonna be, we get Reg I, and Reg I is dual restricteds. That gets us all the way through Worlds. Very similar to how the year was structured last year. For 6 months, we're gonna play Reg I, dual restricted. It's gonna be either an amazing format and a format that everybody hates. There's no in between with restricted legendary formats. November, after Worlds, Z-A comes out. And in January, we play Z-A. Legends Z-A, it's got Mega Evolutions. We can only use the Pokemon in the Z-A decks, maybe. We play Z-A, whatever its formats are, whatever, like, regs it's going to do, right? All the way through Worlds. And then November 2026, Gen 10 comes out. And Gen 10 is the new gen, right? January or whenever they decide we want to do it, give it however many months. We'll start playing Gen 10 VGC, and we'll start with that regional dex, and, you know, we'll do all the regulations all over again. Maybe they'll go back to calling them series, because it was series, and then they switched to regulations, so maybe they'll start with regulations and switch to something else, just so it's not confusing for everybody. I don't know. But I I really think this is plausible. Like, I know that this sounds crazy and ridiculous, and like maybe I'm insane for like proposing like this, but I feel like this sounds reasonable. Like, it sounds believable in a way. It sounds believable enough to me that I decided to make a video about it. And you know, like I'm not even tired of Scarlet and Violet, really. Like, I know people are starting to get tired of terrestrialization. I understand that. Defensive Terras and offensive Terras are a little ridiculous in Reg H, I think. It's a little hard to know if you're playing, you know, like me, I play a lot of closed team sheet, you know, single, what's the word I'm looking for? Best of one games. And it, you know, it can get really annoying. But I'm not at the point where I'm tired of it yet. I think it's still a very interesting mechanic. There's still some things I think that we could do with it that would be really funny. My favorite is giving a weakness policy to a Pokemon and proccing the weakness policy with a move that it wouldn't normally be weak to. You know. You know me. But this sounds really plausible. And I think if they announce that we're going to play Scarlet and Violet for an entire another year of VGC, that sounds terrible. That sounds like too much Scarlet and Violet for VGC. Unless they come up with some crazy, like, unless they do something insane. Like, they say, okay, Pokemon Home transfers. You can now transfer in the rest of the Pokedex, including, like, Xerneas and Yveltal and Zygarde. Or you can transfer every Pokemon that's in Legends Z-A. Sure. Maybe they do something crazy like that, and they, like, rejuvenate the game for a year because we get all these new Pokemon that we didn't have access to. Granted, we won't have Mega Evolution because they're not going to add Mega Evolution into Scarlet and Violet. That would be even crazier. But, like, barring them doing something like that, I feel like announcing that we're going to play Scarlet and Violet for a 4th year would be awful. Okay? And I feel like Legends Z-A is the only game that we know about that can come out and, like, we can potentially start playing competitive on it. And if it has a regular battle system, like normal Pokemon, and it's just Mega Evolutions as the gimmick, I think that's reasonable. I think that we could get away with that. And obviously, they're taking a little bit more time on this game than they did probably on Legends Arceus, than they did maybe even on Scarlet and Violet. It seems like this game's been in development for a hot minute. And, you know, if it's going to be that polished, like, it would be a waste to not promote this game by having it be the VGC game. VGC is a very big growing community. And I know that they see it as some sort of marketing ploy for their games, because if they didn't, they wouldn't spend all this money on it. Because I've done the math, okay? They do not make money back from VGC regionals on prizing. The amount of entrants that pay do not spend enough money to make up how much the prizing support is. So Pokemon is funneling money into VGC at a loss because they see some sort of marketing merit in it, okay? That has to be it. There can be no other reason. Maybe they make it up in the merchandise sales. Maybe they make it up in side events. I don't know. There's no way that they do. The prizing costs more than the amount of entrants that they get. Because they can only make the events so big. If they could make the events like infinitely big, I'm sure that they would make it back. But they can't do that. So it has to be some sort of a marketing thing. It has to be like they see some sort of potential in growing a community of people that will buy every single game no matter what. And obviously that's what competitive Pokemon players are. They have to buy every game or they can't play anymore. And you know how you get all the competitive people to buy your little side game that everybody's going to write off? You make it the VGC game. And I think that it makes all the sense in the world if Scarlet and Violet Season 2025 ends and they're like, okay, yeah, we've announced more details about ZA. You can see that these are normal battles. The next VGC 2026 is Legends Z-A. You're going to play with Mega Evolutions. Have fun. Go nuts. And then Gen 10 comes out. And maybe Gen 10 has Mega Evolution too. I don't know. Do they want to give us Mega Evolution for just a year? Or do they want to like really milk it? It really depends. We don't know if Gen 10 has a new mechanic. We don't know if Gen 10 will just be Mega Evolution again. It totally could. They could totally say, hey, like, we just gave you Mega Evolution back. Have it a little bit more. Here's even more Mega Evolutions. You know, they could totally do that. And that would be fine. People would lose their minds. People would be so excited for it because everybody loves Mega Evolution. Except for people who had to deal with Mega Kangaskhan. But, you know, the VGC players will play anyway, probably. And the only two things, right, that I can see where they would say, hey, this is happening instead of what I'm saying, is if they like, there's three other options, okay? Number one is we're playing Scarlet and Violet for another year, and we're literally just going to play like dual restricteds forever, and we're all going to be so mad and angry we're not going to go to any events. They don't want that. Option two is they update Scarlet and Violet so you can get all of the Pokemon that are in the ZA decks and transfer them to Scarlet and Violet, and that would be okay. That would probably get Titus over for about a year. Or option three is they release some sort of like a black and white remake or something, and we all play the black and white remake for competitive Pokemon. This hasn't even been announced. Could they announce a game and release it in time for VGC 2026? Yes, absolutely they could. But I don't see that being plausible. I don't think that's gonna happen. But yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys about this thing that I'm thinking. I wanted to put it out in the world so that if this happens, then it'll be on the record that I was right. And you know, after I predicted Reg H correctly, then I'll be happy that I was right. How long will it be before we know? I imagine we'll probably have a pretty good idea by the time the next, probably by the time Reg I comes around. After Reg I starts, maybe we'll have a pretty good idea, which is gonna be, you know, like a good 4 months from now, or maybe it'll be after the next Legends Z-A trailer. Maybe the next Legends Z-A trailer comes out and they're like, yeah, these are classic Pokemon battles with Mega Evolution. Like that would be what the marketing term would be. I don't know. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think this is plausible in some sort of like tinfoil hat way where like if this happens, it makes all the sense in the world? Or do you think I'm crazy and like this will never happen? Let me know down in the comments. But if you enjoyed my little rant, my little I don't really know what else to call it other than a rant, my little conspiracy theory. Make sure that you like on this video. Make sure that you subscribe. I do little rants, little conspiracy theories all the time. And if that's the kind of content you enjoy, you subscribe. If maybe you just like me, you know, maybe you think that I'm handsome. But with that, everybody, my name is Andrew. I'll catch you guys next time. A very special thank you to all of the certified AndyLa fans, especially the AndyLa VIPs, including Colton and Cosmic Pharaoh. Once upon a time, man, I heard that I was struggling. Came from a gen where power creep wasn't coming in. Face long, stats tight, defense up, shack height. Sturdy on me, sash like, got the TM last night. Hit me with that good move, make this mount act right. Bast boys, better hit that builder. I know that's right, big bad.